Basic builder grade pantries simply do not work. Why? In order to facilitate ease of construction, they'll place a series of perhaps even chipboard shelves along the walls and call it a day. But it doesn't work for you. When you have shelves of this type, you're unable to maximize the storage in the pantry, and the shelves are simply too deep. When you end up placing things on shelves that are 12 inches deep or 16 inches deep, you find that they end up having one item buried behind another. And that's how we end up with a 3-year-old can of tomato sauce, pickles that have now turned a very strange shade of green. So let's take a look at a walk-in pantry and figure out how to make it work in the best possible way. The minimum size for a walk-in pantry should be the depth of the shelving that you want to use plus 36 inches. So if you're going to start out with a 12-inch shelf, you're going to want a pantry that is 4 feet wide. You may be lucky enough to have a pantry that is at least 60 inches or 5 feet wide, and that's going to be even better. So let's get to it. We're going to start with a pantry that is 6 feet deep by 5 feet across. You'll see here that the pantry has a door off to one side and it's 30 inches wide. A door to a pantry that's less than 30 inches wide is going to make access a little more difficult. I've seen some that are as narrow as 24 inches, but I can't walk through one of that size with something in my hands because my arms are out to the side and you kind of have to turn sideways. So try to keep it at a minimum of 30. 32 is even better. The critical dimensions here are 5 foot width and the width of the door. The reason that you want to keep the pantry 5 feet wide or at minimum 4 feet wide is so that you have enough depth for storage along one side and the back. If you have 5 feet wide, you can do storage on 3 sides. So that you can see things a little easier, let's go ahead and slide this view over and remove this wall. And you can see in this perspective view what's going to be happening inside. So we're going to address this wall first. Here we're going to place storage for case goods and small appliances. Small appliances really need a shelf that's at least 18 inches deep. Case goods, however, can fit nicely in a space that's 22 inches. So let's go ahead and put a 22-inch deep cabinet module along this wall. So our interior space is 6 feet, and we're going to want to go from one end to the other. So 36 inches should work nicely. And we're going to do a 36-inch height with a single shelf. Above this, we're going to want to put shelves. So our first shelf should be 52 inches above the floor. We'll adjust the height to 52 inches to the bottom, and you can see that's happened there. So now we'll copy that, and between the shelf here and the next shelf, we want to give ourselves space for items that are 9 to 10 inches tall, and we want to have space to be able to get our hands in there. So let's go ahead and go for 12. So we're going to call this one 62. And we'll put it into place. Again, we've got plenty of space here, so let's take this shelf and we will duplicate it for another 12 inches and one above that. Now, the one that is at the very top, we're going to keep it spaced off of the ceiling so that we could place paper towels and taller, lightweight items up there. You may perhaps have one of those large dispensers for lemonade or iced tea that you use outside in the summertime or for entertaining, and that's an excellent spot to place that. So now, along our back wall here, let's go ahead and imagine those as being 8-inch deep units. Why 8 inches deep? Because they will fit nicely onto shelves of that size. Now, if you're going to be using shelving units, you can go ahead and make it the full 3 feet 2 inches. It's not going to ultimately end up being that wide because we're going to add another shelf over here. On this side, rather than 8 inches, we're going to do 4. And the reason we're going to do 4 is because small bulk spice storage, canned goods, they will fit nicely onto a 4-inch deep shelf. Now you can do these with adjustable shelves, you can do them with fixed shelves as long as you have cleats and support them properly and use shelves of the correct thickness. But these items along here are not going to be super heavy, so that won't be a problem. Now, we've got to remember that we've got our door here, and we want to keep some space, even though the door is opening out. Where do you put your aprons? Where do you put things that you may want to hang on the wall that don't have a lot of depth? Let's plan on putting those right here. When you think about small appliances, slow cookers, that sort of things, you're going to want to store those here on these shelves. If you choose to keep your microwave in the pantry, it's not a bad idea to have this countertop. So this is a good way to begin thinking about how to design a walk-in pantry. One of the main things you want to be sure of is, have I inventoried what it is I'm going to be storing in there? Is my pantry primarily something that I just want to look pretty, or do I want it to work? If you have any questions, I'll address them in the comments below.